Howdy folks, Kirk and Jason here with Kirk Giordano Plastering. Today I want to go over smooth finishes. You've got your La Santa Barbara, that's 30-30 sand, very fine like talcum powder, except it does have sand. You got marble, BMI, product. You got about 20 different products. All of them have the very fine sand for the finish coat. 3 sands, you got your fine, your medium, and your coarse. Okay. We're pretty far from home. We're in beautiful Tiburon. Now, when I bid a job, a lot of these jobs I'll bid online and I'll come out and do it. And so I bid some work here. I said, gee, I'll charge this amount to do the lath, then this amount to do the base coat, and put a color finish on it. And so he did his own lath, which he did a pretty good job, considering he'd never done it before. It's not standard to like us, but hey, he's never done it before and only watched our videos for an hour. Anyway, I want to explain something. On a Santa Barbara Smooth Mission finish or whatever material, whatever you want to call it, when you do a 2-coat system, and this is a 2-coat system, you'll get these hairline cracks here. How old is this house? I'd say about 70 years old. If you paint it every 10 years, guys, your house will last forever. All the wood, everything will last a long time. But when you get these hairline cracks here, what you generally do, and I tell people, hey, put caulking in here and then wipe it off. So only the caulking goes into the crack. How do you do that? Well, you use a caulking here. And you want to use something that's paintable too, guys. You can't use a polyurethane because you can't spread them, and you can't use some silicones because you can't paint them. So use like a 40-year or above type of caulking. Kelly Moore or Sherwin-Williams, can't go wrong. Once that caulking's there, then you take your trowel and hit it, wipe all the excess off. And when you wipe all the excess off and leave the caulking into just the crack, when you paint it, you're not going to see it. I'm going to show you what we're matching today. Now, this isn't really a 2-coat Santa Barbara finish. How do I know? Well, I can see. You see all this sand. How'd they get all this sand? How'd they get all this sand? This, all this sand. See all the sand? I'll tell you how you get the sand. What is sand? That fancy word. Aggregate. So what they did was they steel troweled the whole house. They steel troweled it. One guy was steel troweling. And before that, they had floated it. So when they floated it, this brought the sand out. And when they applied the texture, and they just used trowels. They didn't use a finish coat. They just went over back and forth. And more than likely, they use swim pool trowels because that keeps the lines out. It gets rid of a lot of this stuff here. It's hard to get rid of it with a square trowel or a rectangular trowel. You see the lines here. This is typical. It's typical, even though it has a weep screed. And that weep screed serves as an expansion so the house can move. Gives us something to stop at. And when it's painted, if anything leaks, there's holes here. So it drips out harmlessly without harming the mud still. Okay, that being said, because he said, well, can you match this? I said, yeah, I can match that. There's nothing I've ever seen that we can't match. Exposed aggregates where they throw seashells and abalone shells and different rocks, yeah, that's difficult to match unless you have this exact batch. But we are back here. The fella whom we did this base coat. Again, I might have been kind of hard on him last time I was here, but it's another day, and Jason and I spent about 3 hours going over and redoing his lath. And here's, okay, look at this wall, please, Jay. You see this hairline crack here? I expected this whole wall to be chattered and hairlined after the hydration period. He spent 2 weeks and he hosed it down. What does that do? It expands it, the stucco, and then it shrinks. And when it expands, it cracks like that. And plus over wood, if you're going over wood, that wood is twisting. Even the midnight air, 2 to 3, 4 in the morning, the moisture hits that. It expands it, it shrinks it. So you're always going to get cracking with a 2-coat system. No such thing not to get cracking with a 2-coat system. Even though some materials say, oh, it's crack-free. Yeah, if you put it in a little bag and you hang it from a tree, maybe there'll be no crack. But in the real world, it cracks because not of poor workmanship, but it's just the nature of it. And name a cement, I've used it 25 times. Any cement, we've used it 25 times, at least, some thousands of times. But say like on this other side, I'm going to show you something. We have some more excessive cracking. And I expected it. I told the fellow here, I said, man, you stapled the wire so flat and it's backwards. What does that mean? It just means, let me put it in terms that you guys all understand. You take rebar and you're going to pour some cement. You put dobies so that the rebar is little blocks, so that the rebar is 2 inches above the ground. And when you pour 4 inches of concrete, 2 inches goes below, 2 inches goes above. Boom, that's a solid way to prevent cracking. What he did was he stapled it tight, and that's okay, guys. You see all these staples. We did a job 30 years ago in Tiburon, and we got gung-ho too. We did the same thing. Inspector came out and said, man, we were like 25. He says, you guys got a little carried away. I said, so what do you think? He said, I don't think anything. I think put them down, put them down. I said, you don't want us to take them out? He said, you can't take them out. You take them out, you create a lot of leaks. So the fact that the wire is so flat, and Jay and I spent forever pulling it out, you could only pull it out so much. And he said, well, dang, do I got to take it all out and redo it? I said, not really, but expect a little cracking. Even with a color coat, expect some cracking. Over here, we're going to the jungle. What you see some of these cracks. That's what I expected the whole thing to be. In fact, I expected a lot more here and here. Just the fact that we use an incredibly strong cement is why we only have this. You say, wow, that's a lot. No, it's not compared to with the wires when it's really flat. So if you do your own lath, make sure you watch some of our videos that show how to do it a little bit better. Can you put caulking in this? If I put caulking in this right now and I shave it like that, any color other than crystal white will show. Like say the color coat will dry, and you'll see that variation of a color coat. You'll see it right through the color coat. It's called ghosting, bleeding, but you don't want to do that. And some folks say, well, why don't you put mesh on it, fiberglass mesh tape? Well, you can't do, and you should not do fiberglass mesh tape with a Santa Barbara finish, because it'll be a big hump by the time you put an 1/8 over that, then 16th over this. You kind of see the humps, guys. I've been doing this close to 40 years. I've done about 50 homes with the Santa Barbara. So you don't want to do that. Anyway, the cure time is why this expanded, and because it's wood. And notice he doesn't have the doors on yet, and there's no sheetrock. And he says, well, Kirk, I'm not going to sheetrock it. And I thought, okay, get some doors on here, because even though we color coat this, we'll get all this stuff out. More than likely, because the wire's so flat, and any vibration, doors, you install sheetrock, is going to re-crack it. But I told him, we'll put the finish on, and he said he wanted to paint that anyhow. So I said, if you could develop any of these hairlines, these are hairlines, like the hair on your head. This is a hairline. If you could stick a credit card in it, it ain't a hairline. Anyway, we're going to get started over here, and we'll show you how to spread it too. All right, guys, I'll show you a couple more tips since we're already showing things. All right. Now this wall, when Jay and I did the base coat, we took a steel trowel. We darbied it, then and that's called steel troweling. When you steel trowel a wall, you seal it. That means it's difficult for the water to get into. Therefore, I've wet this down 5-6 times. What I do on a whole house, I'll tell the homeowner, hey, would you do me a favor and wet your whole house down the evening before? That way when we get there, it's still saturated, because you want it to be completely saturated. Because now I sealed it with the trowel, because if you say you sponge float it, now you bring the sand out, and 1 grain of sand jacks this finish up, 1 grain. Imagine thousands and thousands of grains. And yes, while I'm messing around here, just showing you, I do this so that I can use skill. I don't want to use strength. I want to use skill, so you wet it. Now we did a wall about 15 years ago, and it was getting late. There was like 10 of us, and we got beat up because we had a full mixer, and we had to put it on the wall. And I thought, damn, it's not going to be dry in time for us to steel trowel it. So I had no choice but to sponge it. You pull it upward. And say 2 weeks later when we got there to do the finish, we had to scrape for hours, just scrape. Get all the grit out, because if you have 1 grain of grit, it drags it. So we're scraping. With Santa Barbara, you're hustling. They got you hustling. So anyway, when you do a Santa Barbara, after you derby it, trowel it, don't ever use this guy here. And close your eyes and still trowel it, because you don't want grit, because grit will jack you up. Here's your best friend for a Santa Barbara smooth mission finish. This $2 brush. This is your best friend, because like on a lot of this stuff here, what they did is they did the corners, then they took a float and they brought the sand out. So you don't want to do that. I'll show you how to do this brush in a minute. Okay, and that's one of the most important tools. So what I'm going to do now is let's just coat this. Generally, you want to start from the bottom, pull it up. And with steel trowel again, especially when the wall's wet, come up, go into your own joint. I like to get my corners like this, because with these finishes that have so little aggregate in it or sand, the corner bead tends to show. We don't want the corner bead showing, because it'll be like a piece of metal. It'll be a sore thumb, so we don't want that. I'm taking it out of this bucket right here. Bucket scoop. Put it on here. Put a little bit more, because I don't want to mess around. Okay. Get into the jungle. Now, and you know how I'm pulling it upward, guys. And yeah, there's a few holidays. That's okay. I'm pulling it upward. Sideways, getting that joint, then coming back down on the same work. You want to come back down on the same work. You don't have to look, just let your trowel, and keep that trowel on edge, guys, a little bit. Okay. Come up, come down on it. And that's it, like that. Now I'll show you with now, as far as troweling, now all I got to do is trowel it. And you guys got to know one thing if you're asking. And yesterday I had a call. You know, we got, 900 videos online. And I think I've answered 44, well, I've responded to, it's the correct terminology. I've responded to over 40,000 comments. And most comments are, hey, you guys are pretty good. Or, hey, man, I learned a lot from you guys. And there's always a few people who say, dude, you suck. You're using the wrong trowel. I love those. Anyway, for the sake of explaining a couple things at once, the fellow emailed me. He said, Kirk, I paid these guys to do a Santa Barbara finish. And again, there's 20 different materials, all cementitious, all of them with fine, medium, and coarse sand. And he says they did a horrible job. Look. And so I was looking at the pictures, and I thought, that's not bad. And so I called him. I said, man, I don't want to go against my fellow contractor, but if he's wrong, he's wrong. If he's right, he's right. So I said, that discoloration is because of the troweling. You went with a dark color. Even with crystal white, we have a lot of problems with coloration. Why? It's a steel trowel finish. And say, when you put your mud on here, now you got to go over it. You got to get all the imperfections out. And by doing this, what does that do, guys? It discolors it, because we're troweling it over and over and over in order to get it smooth. You can't just put it on. You could only trowel down sand so smooth, guys. Now, gypsum, no sand in it, you can make it look like glass, but you cannot make a sandy finish look like glass. It is impossible. Yeah, Kirk said it. It's impossible. I can't do it. Don't know very many people who can do it. I'll show you again. If you want to even make it tighter, you can make it tighter because technically most Santa Barbaras are two-coat finishes. So I told them, I think they did a fine job, my friend, because they're using a dark color. They've had to steel trowel it, and when they steel trowel it, that's what causes the discoloration. Now, granted, if you're going to get a smooth finish, Santa Barbara is the main one, but BMI makes marble, and every other company has a pretty name for the same finish. But be aware, it's not like a painted surface, guys. It is not like a painted surface. If you want a painted surface, and this guy said he'd paint this, I said, go ahead. You won't see any color variations. Crystal white is about the only color you can do that you can go over things and it not show. And how many times have I done crystal white? About 40, I don't know, 50, something like that. But even crystal white, when you still trowel it, it's going to have color variation. And that's what you get when you want a smooth finish. Welcome to, and everybody seems to love a Santa Barbara smooth mission finish. Okay, I'm going to get back to that little bitty brush and show you something. Okay, now notice, any smooth finish takes a lot of troweling. And there's the reason why it's double the cost, guys, because I put 2 coats on it just for the heck of it. 2 coats is smoother than what he has, but I don't want to do what I think looks nice. I want to do what he says match. And a lot of people will also comment and say, Kirk, you should have done this or that. It's like, guys, when you own your own house and you hire somebody like me, you make the rules. You tell me what you want. Whether or not I think it's pretty, I'll do it. That's just how we are. Anyhow, so I'm going to go over this just slightly now one more time like this. I'm not going to add any more materials, but I'm going to grab that itty bitty 2-inch dollar brush. Gotta love these. I get these by the box, like 100 at a time. And so after you got your finish on, now granted, the finish here is smoother just a little bit than what he's got. He's got a lot of sandy finishes. I'll figure I'll make it look a little bit better than a little bit worse. And see, 1 grain of sand. See that right there? That's 1 grain of sand. That is why, and sometimes too, guys, like Jay mixed a bucket earlier. He said, Dad, we just got this from the material yard, and the bottom is hard, full of rocks. So we chucked it. I thought, well, it's just a mistake. You know, they can't help it. If it was in the rain or got wet, that bag will have rocks, and you can't do this kind of finish. You could, but it would, instead of me taking, say, 15 minutes to do this wall, take me 3 hours, probably picking out little rocks and getting them out of there. Here's where this $2 brush comes in. You take it, hit your weep. Hit that weep screen. And I'm not using the tip, I'm using the sides. Get rid of it, and here, go straight up. Straight up. And when you go straight up, that leaves the mud on it a lot better. If you go down, you pull the mud off. That's why we always go straight up. And this little $2 brush is your best friend. So, I just wanted to point that out, guys, because we just happen to be doing this. We're having fun visiting Tiburon. I remember in the 80s and 90s, we did about 20 custom homes here in Tiburon. That was when I had a big, gigantic crew because I was ambitious. But I learned it's very difficult to have more than 3 guys and have everybody work in harmony, especially when you're young and you're full of testosterone and your family got problems, your wife got problems, you got problems, everybody got problems. So I stick with family. All right, guys, we'd take you behind the swamp lens and show you that, but it's identical to that wall there. It's just a Color coat maintenance free finish. What does that mean? Like a brick, when it gets wet, it darkens. And the idea is if water ever goes through this, it hits the paper and it comes out of these weep holes down here. Anyway, we thought we'd show you the final, although behind there he did some odd stuff like the building doesn't go square. It arcs because of the tree, but so we don't want to go back there and show you that kind of stuff. Anyway, my name is Kirk. Jason on the camera. We thank you guys for watching, and as usual, see you guys on the next one.
Hi everybody, we reached the end of another video, which means I get to do the fun part. I get to say thank you all for watching. If you like what we do, please like and subscribe so we can keep making content for you. And as always, if you're looking to purchase any of the tools or materials you see us use in these videos, you can usually find those at your local plastering yard. Or, if you'd like to help support us in the process, you can buy them from our website, our Amazon affiliate links, and we'll make a little dough in the process there. More importantly, I get to introduce all you fine folks to the newest member of the Giordano Plastering clan. This is my lovely baby Avery, and of course my beautiful partner Sarah. And as you can see, we've already picked out Avery's first trowel, so when they get a little older, they can come to the job site and learn from their dad, and my dad, the plaster master, just like I got to. As usual, we thank all you folks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye.